Battery needs much more space and building materials, so the initial cost is higher. chemical storage like ion can react in military market needs for a lot of storage is more expensive. That
duration of time.
underground. Is needs in a day. This have a small cheap. And we'll only know if this system works. Built. On rails, which
in have Herat and small
is an act of liberation.
At the United Nations, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and that's what the Stories of Us is all about. We believe that if we're going to make those ideals a reality, then we have to truly know each other, because we are our stories. We are the stories we hear, we are the stories we tell.
This year, we're going into the second decade for people of African descent. We also invited them as part of the Transatlantic Slave Trade and Slavery Outreach Program. It speaks to the origins of enslavement, and then it traces emancipation, those struggles that happened, and then it really lands in this area of asking us to reimagine the world that we want to live in with much more justice and dignity.
For me, having this piece here, the United Nations, in this time is very important because as a talking drum, I like to drum up the attention that Haiti really deserve and need, especially right now.
Artworks like this help to show the complexities of what makes us human. This is just an amazing thing to have this experience. We walk into this place and see the different sides of what makes us unique and what makes us beautiful, and that's what makes us human.
Ramadan reminds us of the universal values that connect humanity: compassion, empathy, and generosity. And Bangladesh is a living symbol of these values through your commitment to peace, development, and humanitarian relief. This is my yearly Ramadan visit, this time in solidarity with the Rohingya refugees and with the Bangladeshi people that so generously host them. And in this visit, I already heard two clear messages. First, Rohingyas want to go back to Myanmar. It's essential that the international community does everything to make sure that peace is reestablished in Myanmar and that the rights of the Rohingyas are respected. And second, they want better conditions in the camp. Unfortunately, recently, dramatic cuts in humanitarian aid were announced by the United States and by several other countries, namely in Europe. And because of that, we are at risk to cut the food rations in this camp. My voice will not end until the international community understands that they have the obligation to invest now to support the Rohingya refugees here in Bangladesh. As the country undergoes a significant transition under the leadership of Chief Advisor Yunus, I recognize the people's hope for a future of greater democracy, justice, and prosperity. This is a pivotal moment for Bangladesh, and the international community must play its part in supporting your efforts towards a just, inclusive, and prosperous future. As the country undergoes important reforms and transitions, I want to assure you that the UN stands ready to assist in fostering peace, national dialogue, trust, and healing. You can count on the UN to be your steadfast partner, working alongside the government and the people of Bangladesh to help build a sustainable, equitable future for all.
I came all the way to Osaki to create a future where all resources circulate and where mining of additional fossil fuels is reduced. Osaki town has achieved a recycling rate of more than 80%, which is the highest through Japan. In Osaki town, waste is sorted into 27 different categories. Since there is no incineration plant, only this blue bags goes directly to the landfill without getting incinerated, and other 26 categories will be sorted and recycled properly.
もうね、長いことやってたら、もう自分たちはもうそのままで、もうそれこそ当たり前と思ってしてるから、別に嫌ではありませんね。
Of course, there are some waste that cannot be recycled properly without incineration. However, I think waste management should not be designed with an incineration plant included from the beginning.
私たちの町自体はそのゴミを燃やすとかそういった焼却炉というのをもともと持たない町であります。そしてまたこれからも焼却炉を作るとか持つとかそういったことを全く考えていない町でありますので、もうずっとそのゴミの分別を続けていく、そんな感じの町なんです。
Collected recyclable waste comes to this place called the Soil Recycling Center. Citizens will sort into 27 categories at their homes, but this center will further separate it into more than 40 categories. And plastics will be separated into hard types and packages and then compressed. And cans will be separated into aluminiums and steels with this separation machine. Composite materials such as pans, because they have a plastic handle, they are cracked by hammers and will be separated by hands. The compressed waste will then be taken to recycling factories all over the country. The profits from trading recyclable waste are used as a scholarship of students from Osaki. Food waste are collected 3 times a week with this blue bucket. When the food waste are brought here, they get crushed into smaller pieces. Prune plants will also be brought in here and they will be crushed together. And they are mixed together with the food waste. The prune plants also contains many native microorganisms. As they get active by decomposing the food waste, the waste turns into a rich compost. The steam is rising from the pile because the microorganisms are very active. The pile will be left to rest for another couple of months until the decomposing process of microorganisms ends completely. The whole process will take about 5 to 6 months. Almost all the compost is used at farms in Osaki. And rape flowers are grown at those farms to make a rapeseed oil. The whole process of decomposing food waste doesn't need chemicals or any other substances, but just rely on the native microorganisms. I think the process is very simple and can be practiced anywhere in the world. Actually, this process has been introduced to Indonesia through the JICA Partnership Program. Osaki Town officials and the recycling center staff went to Indonesia to show the techniques of separating and composting food waste. This may become a solution to waste management issues that a lot of developing nations faces right now. Even if we try to recycle everything, there are still many packages that cannot be sorted well. So currently I'm working with companies to create recyclable products. What would you think if somebody told you that your hometown will disappear in decades due to climate change? I grew up in a small island, Tuvalu, in the South Pacific. There I experienced a life very close to nature and community. I went back to Tuvalu when I was in high school and realized that the country is suffering from the rising sea levels and extreme drought due to climate change. And I cannot express such a feeling when I knew that my hometown and my old playground will disappear in the near future. One day, your hometown and even this Osaki town may become a habitable place. I myself don't want to experience such an unhappy future. Nor do I want my children or the generations after to experience that. The pine forest spreading by the edge of Osaki town is a vast windbreak with a total length of 24 kilometers. Hundreds of years ago, our ancestors planted these trees to protect the town from heavy winds and sands from the ocean. But they did this for the future generation rather than for themselves, because they knew that the trees would take hundreds of years to grow. And now I feel like it is my turn, and I came here to create a circular economy that leads to mitigation of climate change for the future generations.
Excited to be here today, all of us sharks and dragons and lions, and so humbled to be invited by the United Nations to learn about the Sustainable Development Goals and how we can contribute.
Look at this. Wow.
For the first time, I'm meeting sharks from other countries, and they have their version of Shark Tank, which is insane to think about, but now it really brings it home that it's a global impact.
What you may not know is there are 50 versions of Shark Tank around the world, and some of them are called Dragon's Den and Lion's Den. Since the United Nations is about the global community, this is the perfect opportunity for sharks, lions, and dragons to come together for a global mission.
Welcome to the United Nations. We're here in the General Assembly Hall, which is the place where its membership meets. There are 193 member states who gather here. I think what's important here are really monumental things have happened. The Sustainable Development Goals were signed here in this hall in 2015. And we call the SDGs our blueprint for a better world. And it was just incredibly amazing to see the entire membership of the UN representing the whole world saying that we commit to coming together to make the world more just, more equal, more peaceful. We're also so excited to have leaders in business who know how to change the world.
We're here to learn things that we can implement sustainability to our businesses, and we can influence a lot of people, but also we can actually activate things ourselves with our own companies.
It's really great to have you here for this briefing with my colleagues so that we can delve in a little bit deeper into the issues, especially around sustainable development. Private sector leadership is essential. So you're going to hear from UN experts, and we hope that you'll lead with a better understanding of how the SDGs can be more integral to your decision making.
Making sure that companies are more gender equal can unleash close to $12 trillion in new market value that is linked to the SDGs. That's simply $12 trillion that we're not looking at because women should be at the table, and they're not. The private sector employs 2/3 of the world's wage earning opportunities. Companies can create about 380 million jobs simply by integrating the SDGs into their operations. The right framing can really drive transformation.
I'm going to talk to you today about climate change, and I'm going to give you a lot of bad news. We have entered an entirely new era on the globe. We have changed the world as we know it. Despite all of that, I am an optimist because we know how to solve the climate crisis. We have to change energy systems. We have to revamp transportation. We have to transform farms and food. We have to protect nature. We have to green the economy. We know we have a long way to go, and this is why I'm so glad you're here, because your ideas about how we can get there, what are the types of businesses, what are the types of ideas that we need that are completely going to reframe how the world works.
Since the 1990s to about 2015, the world has gone through the highest rise in standard of living ever in this century. 1 billion people were lifted out of poverty. Rising standards of living were driven by trade and financing, and they were crafted by businesses, by private sector, by entrepreneurs, and by the United Nations. And we would like to think that that's the promise of the SDG agenda.
So I want to thank you again, sharks, dragons, and lions. I hope you got some inspiration here, some knowledge to take away, and we're really looking forward to collaborating with you going forward, and really appreciate your coming to the United Nations and spending this time with us today.
To me, the whole day was a wake-up call. What we learned today is that we have more power than we thought we had to make a difference in business. But now I'm going to choose different products, different businesses.
We need more intent. We can't just think it's going to solve itself, and I think we need to be more aggressive about our intentions on how to create a lot of changes needed yesterday.
It gets you thinking about your kids and their future kids and the world you want to leave behind for them.
The Sustainable Development Goals are a blueprint for a better future for everyone, everywhere. Join me and people all across the globe in taking action. Visit un.org/act now to learn more.
I've always wanted to save the world. It sounds silly, but yes. But I did not think that architecture could be one of the ways that I could do it.
I got into the field with the idea of being a kind of a Indiana Jones and just kind of going into all these really exciting sites. That was a very naive, immature approach to what heritage might actually be.
We felt that heritage and sustainability are two sides of the same coin. So we decided to join hands and create a larger impact. Not many architects think that climate change is something that they need to think about, but we're trying to change that. Mud as a material has always been used in construction, and it's a very clean material.
This material is truly magical. In India, it's all about customs and traditions. We walked around the machine with lime and camphor burning in his hand. It's like removing all the bad energies or vibes that the machine could have been born with. So that's how Hinduism is, right? You're believed to have born with certain sin, and then you kind of work your way towards a sinless life. You can make mud bricks with, so we've got some really beautiful red soil here. This soil is further seeped, so all the big particles are kind of taken away. And it's mixed with what used to be sand, but is now quarry dust. So quarry dust is essentially from stone quarries, the waste that you get is collected, and to this mix you add very little bit of water just to activate the clay, which is then put into the machine. And the strength of the brick is basically got from the action of compression. So what essentially you're doing is you're removing all the air particles from the mix and therefore getting a very, very solid block. So the manufacturing and the processing is done by local communities. So that again, you're giving back to the livelihoods towards local communities rather than large manufacturing plants and large companies. So that's why this material, although it looks like a very normal block, has a much larger reach and a much more positive impact than any other bricks or blocks that I use.
சார் அவங்க கல்யாணத்திலே சிரிக்கல சார்.
For whatever reason now you find masons who are mostly male, so the kind of camaraderie you would want to have is a little bit harder to achieve with them, so it's a bit of a social stigma to get too pally with women. So initially they'll be like, no madam, you can't touch the tools, you can't get muddy. But then eventually they're like, there's no point talking to her, she's going to touch the tools, she is going to get muddy. So that's one way that we found it's nice to kind of break that barrier almost immediately. Then we kind of say who defines roles, right? It's just what you feel like doing, what gives you joy. And working with my hands give me joy, so I'm doing that. And that helps you create a better relationship with the mason. In cow dung, it's basically digested fibers, right? So we add this in mud to increase the cohesion of the mud particles. So we work a lot with cow dung. And it's quite interesting, the cow dung that we get in the cities stink really badly. But the stuff that we work with in the villages are quite pleasant to work with, actually. It's clearly what they're eating. They're eating a lot of crap in the cities and they're eating this lovely grass here, so possibly that. Rosie and I go back a very, very long time. We were roommates in college and did our architecture school together. I think when you find someone, you know that you click, and that's what happened with us. There was, friendship was almost like immediate, and then it's lasted us 16 years. We were very clear that we did not want it to be a Sridevi and Rosie Associates, because the firm needs to be bigger than that.
Anne Joseph, architect. Varsha and John, architect. Tejaswini, architect. Lesha Maharisha, architect. Sanjani J, architect. Shubha, architect.
And then we thought about the masons on site who really make our dreams, our drawings and all of that a reality. So it was kind of a no-brainer to give them the importance in the name itself. And so masons and the ink would be basically our drawings and all of that.
We wanted it to be a collaborative, hands-on process on site. So, when we stop seeing ourselves as architects who work on just the 2D and 3D and once it moves off.
Hello guys, my cousin is a